Your body has a thing called the immune system. What does that mean? You don't have to do anything for small bacteria and small little things get in there. It just, white blood cells come up, they take care of it, they fight it off. It's happening all the time, isn't it? Your energy body, your Shakti body, your energy body is way more intelligent than your physical body. It wants to cleanse. Your heart does not want these blockages and these fears and insecurities that keep you from being able to feel love. And it will push them out, but you push them back down. You call that a bad experience. Okay? If something happens and disturbs me, this shook me up because it reminded me of something from the past. You should be excited about that. You change your whole attitude of what's going on. What's going on is you are being given the opportunity to release what's blocking your whole life, blocking your happiness. So it's not about going out there to get something that matches so you can feel happy. It's about letting go of what's blocking your happiness inside. Most of you have heard of somebody called Rumi, a beautiful, beautiful, what was it, 5th century Persian poet, whatever he was, all right? This is what he said about love. It is not for you to seek love. It is but for you to seek and find all the obstacles you have put in her place. That's exactly what we're talking about. You're out there trying to find a lover, but you've blocked love. So you're trying to get somebody. I've met somebody and all of a sudden they can get around my blockages. Believe me, it won't last. Your blockages are real. They're going to come back up. The newness of the experience of the relationship will wear off. And next thing you know, you're not feeling all that beautiful attraction and love like that. You all know that. But you can feel it all the time if you remove the blockages. So it's not about finding things that will compensate for your blockages. It's about being willing to remove your blockages. And what you're going to find out, it's the natural state. That's what you're here for. You took birth to do this. Look at me, right? Literally, you took birth so that when you leave with less than you came down with. That's what evolution, that's what it means, spiritual evolution. You're evolving. The question is, are you doing this every minute of your life? You're trying to earn money every minute of your life. You're trying to have relationships be good every minute of your life. You're trying to have people like you, trying to be accepted and have approval every minute of your life. But are you doing this inner work that is the purpose of your life? Because if you do that, everything else works out. You have the right to learn how to let that stuff go. And that becomes the essence of the highest spiritual teaching and the highest spiritual path. It's not about asanas. It's not about gurus. It's not about mantras. It's not about that. It's about, are you willing to work on yourself to let go of this garbage that you stored inside? Because you're going to find out that if you do, the more you let go of, it's not even an all or nothing situation. The more if you can handle the heat the way I just said, talk to yourself about how exciting it is that it reminds me that I'm sitting on a little planet spinning in the middle of nowheres. I can't help it. I tell everybody, did you know that 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun? How many of you knew that? 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. How small is this little dinky thing that's just spinning around and you're complaining about everything? The reason you complain is because you stored all these blockages inside, all these bad experiences. So now when the world comes in, it has to pass through your psyche, has to pass through that. And then it looks like there's trouble, or there's going to be trouble. I'm scared, I worry. Everything has to be the way I want. If you work with yourself, you start, what I teach, and the book talks about that. If I were to tell you right now, it doesn't make any sense for your past to bother you. It's not happening anymore. Do you understand that? I understand if something bad is happening, we can deal with that later. That's bigger. But your past is not happening anymore. If your past still bothers you, there's something drastically wrong with that. You shouldn't be bothered by things that aren't happening. Fair enough? But if I tell you let it go, you don't know how to. No one ever taught you to. They actually reinforce that you have the right to stay upset for long periods of time because something happened to you. In the true spiritual state, great yogis, great beings sit there and say, no. If something happens and it's not happening anymore, I'm going to let it go. I don't want to store it inside of me. I want to bring a pure being, clear being, an open being into the moments that I'm experiencing. I can't do that now because I've stored all this stuff. So the principle becomes letting go. Well, how do you let go? Because right now, if I said to you, it's easy. Now I'm done. Just let go. Let go of your past. Let go of everything. The current moment that's happening to you, don't store any more stuff. Okay? Just when it comes in, accept it, pass it through. Don't resist it. Then you can you can try to raise the world. Okay, you should. Once you're clear, you come out here, you try to help. You do everything you can to help, but not because you couldn't handle what happened. All right? Then you're just helping yourself. If you couldn't handle what took place, then the reason you're doing outside is to try and make yourself feel more comfortable. If you let go of the disturbing circumstances as they happen, you process them, you let them pass through, then when you face the world, you're a giver instead of a taker. So this is the essence of spirituality. So how do you do this? Well, if I say to you, let go of all the bad things that happened in your past, don't let them be in there anymore, that's a joke because we don't know how to do it. We weren't taught how to do it. We don't know how to do it. What we do is open up blogs where we can get other people that had the same bad experiences we do and see who had the worst one, okay? You're supposed to laugh. So we're just reinforcing our right to be disturbed. Do you understand that? That's what we do as a society, as a world. We reinforce our right to be disturbed, and then we wonder why we're disturbed. So in living untethered, I don't start with letting go of your past. I don't start with being able to handle bad situations that happen. I start with, in the current moment, there are things that happen. I call them low-hanging fruit. There are current things that happen that they don't need to bother you. The heat doesn't need to bother you. The weather does not need to bother you. You're bothering yourself about the weather. And the cost-benefit analysis on that is 100% cost, 0 benefit. Am I communicating? You're all business people, right? Would you invest in something that had 100% cost and 0 benefit? You're being bothered by the weather is 100% cost, 0 benefit. Then why are we doing it? Most of you are evolved enough to where you don't eat food that makes you sick, right? You try to have a reasonable diet, right? Would you go there if something made you sick, just keep eating it? Well, why do we keep being bothered by the weather when there's no benefit to it? So the question becomes, take a few of these situations every day that you're bothering yourself, again, repeating what I said, the moment in front of you is not bothering you, you're bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. The weather is not bothering you, you're bothering yourself about the weather by complaining about it. Believe it or not, it is essential that you learn to work with that. To me, that's more essential than your meditation time. That's more essential than these supposedly spiritual things. You go meditate, go to a good state, then come down and complain, right? Come down and be bothered by the driver in front of you, be bothered by the weather, be bothered by what somebody said. It doesn't work. You have to sit there and say, I understand that I'm the only one in here. It's a single occupancy apartment. I'm the only one living in here. The way it is in here is under my control. Outside's not under your control, but inside is 100% under your control. You're the one who decides when to resist. You're the one who decides when to grab. You're the one who decides when to complain. It's yours. You decided to be happy when you got what you wanted, but you decided what you wanted. It's that you're living in your own house and it's a mess, and you don't understand that you made the mess. To the extent, if I have a problem with my mind, which of course is much better after 50 years, but I hope, but if I have a problem with my mind and it's not just going through, all right, I will change what it's saying to a positive thing. I use the example in the book. Let's say it's hot. You just walk around, oh, it's so hot. Oh my God, I'm dying. It's so hot. That's ridiculous. Right? What good is that to say that inside your mind? It just makes you miserable, right? And so I have my mind say, there's a sun 93 million miles away, a star. It's close enough, 93 million miles away. It is so hot that you're complaining about feeling its heat. That's amazing, right? In Miami, I'm in Florida, 350 miles away from Miami. How hot would a fire have to be for me to feel it in Gainesville, Florida? The whole town would have to be on fire. I don't think I could ever do it. And this thing's 93 million miles away, and you're complaining that you feel the heat? You should be rejoicing. It's a miracle. It's amazing. The moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. They should be able to understand that. People should understand that I'm the one who got upset by what he said, by what this person said, all right? Mm-hmm. Somebody else didn't get upset by it. Okay, I did that inside myself. I bothered myself. How could he say that? Why would he say that? You're welcome to do that, but you'll notice, forget whether you see your thoughts objectively or not. You do see that you're doing that, right? That you are creating that problem inside yourself. I would like everyone to at least understand there's an option to doing that. You can learn not to cause all that trouble inside yourself and then deal with the problem rationally, calmly, and you'll find your life is much better off. I need things. I'm not okay. I feel insecure. I need to prove myself. I need to be treated a certain way. I just over and over and over, you've built this self-concept of how things need to be for me to be okay. How's that?
That's right.
Right? Hasn't everyone done that? How do things
Of course, we all do. I mean, we
need
all
to
do
be
at
okay?
times or all the time.
Okay. Well, since there's only one world out there and every one of us has a different idea how it should be, I wonder whether there's so many wars and divorces and everything else. That's why, right? It's inevitable. Okay. And so you get to the point where you realize I can do better than this. Just like you can do better than smoking or hurting your body by not taking care of it. I can take care of the inside better than compensating and expecting the world to make me be okay when I'm not okay. And in fact, not only am I not okay, I'm making myself not okay. I don't know how anybody can love me. I've never really felt that real, and I don't trust, and so on. I hope somebody shows up that can overcome that. You're in there telling yourself you're not worthy of love. You made all these mistakes in your life, and so on. Oh, I wonder where my soulmate is. How you define your soulmate? Somehow the person that when they show up in my life, overcome everything I did to screw myself up. Can you relate to that? Do you understand that?
Of course, yeah. Relationships bring it up the most.
Okay. And what I call it spirituality, but that the real evolution is, why can't I be whole and complete within myself? All right, can I be? There's the first thing. And what you're going to find out if you work on yourself is the only reason you're not is because your consciousness is looking at garbage. It's looking at insecurity. It's looking at jealousy. It's looking at need. It's looking at preference. It's looking at desire. It's looking at fear, isn't it? Because that's what it sees in there. So therefore, you think you are fear and you are insecure. And no, you're not. You're the consciousness that's aware of these things. Well, what would happen if you paid more attention to your consciousness, your awareness of being? And that's what the great ones have found. You happen to be ecstatic. You happen to be the most beautiful thing in the whole world. You happen to be what the Bible means when it says man was created in the image of God. Okay? That there is this beautiful being who's your real self, looking at garbage. Not always garbage. Okay, it can be nice, all right? But it's very conditional, isn't it? Let's say you're not doing good inside. You're feeling depressed. Your mind is bothering you. Perhaps somebody just died or a relationship just broke up and you're really in the doldrums. You're not doing well inside. Your mind is bothering you. You can't sleep well and so on. What I'm going to do is take on a vacation to Hawaii and give you really good food to eat. And guess what? Not only do you not want to go, but if I force you to go, you're going to have a terrible time. Why? Because your inner environment is what you're experiencing. And the outer environment might temporarily distract you from the disturbance you're having inside, but it's not going to stay that way. You're going to fall back in. Most of the time, for most people, it doesn't even distract you. It's just your attachment and involvement in this inner mind, mental place that's going on is what is feeding you. That's what you're experiencing. And on the other side, the other example, the other end, let's say you just fell in love. You just fell in love. You just met this person. They're so beautiful. You're so excited. Your mind is telling you this is the solution to every problem I ever had. I'm flying on cloud 9. And you get a phone call saying you didn't get the job that you wished you'd gotten, right? Guess what you say? Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. Thanks for calling. All right. Let's say it says somebody else got the raise in the office. They call you and tell you. Say, please congratulate him. Oh, I feel really good about that. Just like it is amazing what happens when your inner environment's okay. That example shows you that it is your inner environment that you're trying to get right. If the outside can make the inner environment right, then you say, that's what I like. If the outside can't make the inner environment right, or if it makes it worse, you blame the outside. So you understand, and I know you all understand, that the mind can be a dangerous place. If it is sitting there bothering you, worrying, telling you things might go wrong, even when things are fine, they might go wrong. Your mind can ruin your entire life. That's why it's a dangerous place. Why can it be a very great gift? What happens there? We're going to discuss that in later sessions in this mini course. What you will find out is if your mind is not bothering you, your ability to have a beautiful life is enhanced tremendously. And your mind can actually enhance your ability to experience life and enjoy life. But right now, what I want to paint out, or what I want to spend time talking about, is your mind is not behaving. You're not doing well with your mind. I sometimes use this example. Let's say you woke up in the morning and your arm was going up and down. That's all it was doing, just going up and down, and you couldn't stop it. What would you do? Oh, I know, you'd say, maybe I should be a painter. Maybe I should be a politician. No, that's not what you would do. You would go out and call a doctor instantaneously. There's something wrong with my arm. It doesn't stop going up and down. Why don't you do that with your mind? Your mind doesn't shut up for a second. It's constantly thinking and talking and worrying and plotting and planning and telling you everything that could go wrong, that is wrong, that you ever did wrong. It even does that, right? You don't call anybody up. I mean, I suppose if it gets too bad, you do. But as a general rule, you just accept that the mind is out of control. And that is a major problem because it goes wherever it wants to go. It goes to places it should not be going. I always pick on people, my strongest one is your past. It goes to problems you had in the past that aren't even happening anymore. And it bothers you about them. So the mind in and of itself, what is going on in your mind, is what determines the quality of your life. But we don't deal with it that way. We sit there and say, everything needs to be what I need outside. That's what determines the quality of my life. And your mind supports that tremendously. It keeps telling you, you need to get everything outside the way it tells you. It's like a dictator. It tells you got to get this person to like you, and you better get this raise, and you better get this, otherwise I'm going to bother you. So a wise person, and we are all wise at the deep level, wakes up someday and says, I have a problem. And the problem is not the outside world. The problem is that my mind will not leave me alone. It is constantly telling me what's wrong, what I've done wrong, what's wrong with me. That's the terrible part to think. We talk about bullies nowadays. It's a terrible problem for sure. Your mind is the biggest bully that ever walked the face of the earth. Your nose is too big. Your feet are long. Nobody can like you. Look at your toenails. You have a hammer toe. All right, your hair, look, it's turning gray. That's terrible. Oh, look, you have a wrinkle on your face. Your mind just constantly badgers you to say that things need to be the way it made up that they need to be. That is a very dangerous place to live. What people don't understand, it does not have to be that way. It can be a beautiful place to live. And if your mind is beautiful, then all of life is beautiful. It leaves you in a state where you're capable of giving, of serving, of doing much more productive things than trying to appease a mind that has serious problems. I like to analogize it to driving a car. A car is a very productive, wonderful thing to have, but not if nobody's driving. If it's just off on its own, that is some dangerous stuff. Same with your mind. The mind, as we'll discuss in the next session, is a wonderful tool. It's a beautiful thing. If you drive properly, if you're using it, if it's just off on its own, it goes off the tracks. My personal journey taught me a great deal about this particular shift from the mind being dangerous to the mind being beautiful. Because I didn't start off trying to make the mind beautiful. I started off trying to make the mind go away. I saw how dangerous it was. That's very easy to see, how much trouble that thing causes. You just walk around and it's constantly telling you what you did wrong and what you should have done and what's wrong with somebody else and decision making. And it drives you nuts. And I didn't want that. I decided that I can't live my life with that going on. I want to have a deeper life than that. My particular self, I actually stepped aside when I was coming out of college. I was in graduate school and moved out to the woods and figured I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to do intense meditation until I stop this thing. Fortunately for me and for you, I learned that that's not the right path. That is not how you appreciate and learn the great gift that the mind can be. That's how you bludgeon the mind to make it shut up. And the more you fought with it, the more it fights back. And the more negativity you put in there, and you didn't meditate enough, you didn't do this enough, you're not doing enough yoga, you're not trying enough. It's just more stuff for the mind to talk about. We call it spiritual ego. It's just the same ego, the same noise. It just starts talking about spiritual things, and it's down on you just as hard as it was, all right? You don't look good, right? You care too much about how you look. Same thing. It's just going both ways. So what I learned is that there is a way to deal with this entire environment inside without creating more commotion by fighting with it, to turn it into something beautiful, that it can really be beautiful inside. And that's what we're going to talk about in these sessions, in the future sessions as we move on, is how to work with the mind to raise it up. It is your job to learn how to raise these energies of the mind up to a higher level so that they become beautiful naturally, as opposed to fighting with them and complaining about the difficulty that you have with your mind. So you shoved all this stuff that we've been talking about, all that suppressed stuff, that resisted stuff, on top of your beauty, on top of your pure energy, right?
Yeah.
So as you thin it out, I'll make a statement, it's always trying to push up. The energy is always, it will never stop. Its natural state is to flow up, but you got stuff in the way. Okay, so it's like I use the example, the Hoover Dam is a very big thing blocking the Colorado River. Do you know the Colorado River never stopped trying to get past that dam, and it never will stop?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's why they have to keep fixing it. It was always trying to do its natural flow. That's what this is like inside, the spirit flow, the Shakti flow. All right, it's always trying to flow up, and it'll push your stuff up. So when you say, you know, different layers come up later, right?
Yeah.
You can't handle the deep layers. So it'll push up what you can start to handle, but then you push it back down. You do it all the time. Push it back down, right? Right? No, I'm not all right. I'll be all right 2 days from now. Just leave me alone, right?
Yeah.
Push it back down, right? Instead, you start saying, okay, I'm going to learn how to handle this stuff. Then the next stuff comes up. Why? Because it's like a stack, a computer stack, all right?
Yeah.
It just comes up, and then the next stuff comes up because that's what's there. And then eventually really big stuff gets pushed up. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. That's working with this stuff is the purpose of your life. It's the meaning of your life. Now you asked me, which I will not normally talk about, but you asked is, okay, where does it end? Is there an end? Okay. Well, certainly I ain't there. Okay. Right. But there are great masters, real great masters that have existed on this plane that have taught us what it means to reach the ultimate. All right. So you work your way up. You're going through, talk about chakras. I don't talk about those, but yes, you're working your way through the chakras and you're cleansing, right? Each one of those centers is a transformer that when the energy can make it past the first, it has more power. And then it can push through the second, then it can push through the third, then it can push through the fourth. And when you can handle your heart, which is really important, you can handle, you talk about compassion. So you're in a relationship with somebody. They're hard for people, for these humans. You're not human. You're not human. You have a human that you deal with. You understand that? But you're spirit. You're a very high being. And you're in a relationship and something happens that hurts your heart. You generally leave the relationship, or at least it hurts the relationship tremendously. And it's hard to ever get it back at that level because you hold that in there. You basically suppressed it. They will reach a state where you sit there and say what you've been saying, which is that person is different than me. How do I know what they meant by what they said? Their father used to talk to them like that and didn't mean anything, but if no one ever talked to me like that in my life, well, that's your problem, not theirs. Okay. And you start taking it that way to realize my job is to let go of me so that everything fits inside of me. And you keep letting go. And pretty soon it doesn't stop flowing. Then it goes higher up and higher up. And then what happens is, again, I know what I'm talking about this, the energy is so strong, that flow is so strong inside, and it's intoxicating. It's just beautiful. You can still work out here, but how you work out here? By expressing that in your work, right? So you're driving the car and you're just focused and you're there, or you're doing work in an office. I don't care if you're on an assembly line. You're just putting your whole heart and soul into what you're doing. You're expressing the beauty of your being. You hear me? Ultimately, when you go to work, you should not care about getting paid. If you're really high and you really got there, you can't believe they're giving you money for you to go and express the beauty of your being, right, in whatever you're doing. Moments are going to be unfolding in front of you. The first and most important thing is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up. Acceptance doesn't mean you don't deal with it. Okay, I'm going to die, or who knows what I got. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means I understand that this is what's happening, and I accept that this is reality. Not why me, not who did wrong. No, this is reality. That's in front of me. You can't do well inside if you don't accept reality outside, because then your mind will just try to rationalize and cause all kinds of problems for you because it won't accept the outside. You'll be fighting with the outside instead of working with it. So you start with just that breath. Okay, this is the reality I'm dealing with. Then you try to keep a state of reasonable clarity inside about the reality. How do you do that? You can start with positive thinking. That's one level that at least you should be doing that, right? You sit there and say, we'll make it through this. And even if I don't, whatever it is, I will be a better person because of this. If you're into God running everything, if that's your state, God knows what he's doing. There are so many different things that you can do with positive thinking to create a nicer environment inside. In my opinion, you have an obligation to do that, both for yourself, for the health of your body, for your people around you. You just lift yourself up. The Gita says one should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. This is a time to be doing that work. So you can't say, I can't do that. You can make your mind say things. You're going to used to say, every time there's a negative thought, replace it with a positive one. It's a good time to practice that. So it's woeing for itself. Oh my God, this is terrible. I'll be fine. This is okay. God knows what he's doing. Or no, this is just reality. It's just reality. Accept it either way. And then the next level is you sit there, and if you do mantra, and mantra doesn't have to be an Eastern, Sanskrit mantra, but just get something going behind that you're hanging on to at a deeper part of your mind. I'll be okay. This is okay. I'll use it, whatever it is, right? Then what will happen is when the lower self starts, these situations happen, you just settle back into it. So you have a choice. Which mind you want to listen to? The lower mind, which we know what it's like, or you've built something beautiful inside. And then ultimately, the highest state is you relax every single time something hits your stuff. You relax. You relax. Relax and let go. Relaxing itself is letting go. People sometimes say, well, I relax, how do I let go? The very fact that you chose to relax your shoulders, relax your tummy, etc., and just relax inside, that is letting go. You're not getting all involved in what's going on. So that's the highest state, is you just keep letting go. And the worse it is, the better. You just keep letting go. You just to commit yourself. I'm going to use this. All right, then you, of course, put aside some time in the morning and evening to remind yourself that this is what I'm doing. All right, so that it's sadhana. It's your spiritual practice. There's no exception. That's the main thing I'm saying. It's not like you put it aside. These are the reasons you do the work on yourself. And this is an excellent opportunity to do so. That you are in there and you are noticing that your mind is the sum of your learned experiences. And it is. That's where psychology meets spirituality. Psychology is right. All of the psyche, your thoughts, your patterns, your likes, your dislikes, your problems, and neuroses, etc., are the sum of your learned experiences. But you are in there. You are the consciousness, the awareness of being who notices that what I'm saying is true. So basically, you come to the point where you have to decide, do I want to continue letting my past leave impressions on my mind and my heart such that only certain things will open and close me, and then I will spend my life chasing after, manipulating, controlling, conniving, whatever you want, the world around me, so that sometimes it unfolds the way I want? Or do you want to sit there and understand that you're the one who's making these decisions? It's your mind who's setting up the conditions. Why don't you just not do that? And that's where you get deep spirituality. We're already at the deepest point. And sometimes I quote from you all this very, very deep writing called The Third Zen Patriarch. It's the treatise on faith mind. It's considered by many as one of the deepest spiritual writings ever written. Its first line is all you need. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. But that is not renunciation. It is not about getting rid of your preferences. It is about realizing that preferences limit your joy to having to match them. These blockages you push down into your energy flow are causing all these emotions and all these disturbances that you're feeling all the time. And you know what I mean. Somebody says something you don't like. What do you feel inside? It just gets all weird inside. That's because you have these stored blockages. The energy comes up and it hits them. And what you do, instead of dealing with the blockages, you try to make sure that nobody ever says it again. You try to make sure that everybody is the way you need them to be. Business unfolds the way you need it to. The newspaper is the way you want it to be, et cetera, et cetera. So if it isn't, it creates disturbance. So that's a point I wanted to make. What are these disturbances inside? They are the Shakti. If you don't mind, I will call that energy Shakti. That's a yogic term. They are the Shakti hitting the blockages, which in yoga we call samskaras. They're the Shakti coming up, hitting the blockages. That's what causes all your emotions. Anger is energy coming up. It starts to come up and it gets blocked and it wants to shoot out. Okay. All of these emotions, all of these disturbances are caused by the blockages. If the blockages are removed, you're going to find out who you are.